The Kennedy Center presents Up Close and Personal, a tribute to Cy Coleman.
Cy Coleman, the great Broadway composer, Cy Coleman. He was born on June 14th, 1929, and he passed away on November 18th, 2004. And while his name may not be as memorable to audiences as, say, Jerry Herman or Irving Berlin or Cole Porter, his music was every bit as memorable, distinctive, melodic, and beautifully crafted as any of those gentlemen. And with the help of some of Broadway's finest performers, and with one of Cy's great collaborators, I think we'll paint a portrait of Cy this evening that will prove why his music has proved to be so enduring. Cy, in addition to being a great lyricist, and also a composer from time to time, he was a great interpreter of his own work. To help me celebrate and pay tribute to Cy, I asked one of the most talented and successful lyricists of his generation. And he's also one of the few songwriters that has attained major success in the theater, in Hollywood, and in pop music. His film work includes the two Disney films, Mulan and Hercules. Wrote the lyrics for those two, garnering 2 Academy Award nominations, by the way, for his Hollywood career. Among the many singers who have recorded and or performed his songs, Stevie Wonder, Christina Aguilera, Mel Torme, Ricky Martin, Sarah Brightman, and Barbara Cook. And notably, and why he's the perfect person to be here this evening, he wrote lyrics to Cy's musical City of Angels, and they both won a Tony Award for Best Score of the Year, and that show also won a Tony Award as Best Musical of the Year. Please help me welcome David Zippel. As always, we like to start a bit at the beginning, and we wanted to give you just a brief portrait of Cy's early beginnings. And I know, David, you know the story behind how Cy actually got his first piano to work with.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Cy's mom had an apartment building, and one of the apartments was rented to a couple who couldn't afford the rent, and they skipped out in the middle of the night. And so when the Colemans went up there was a piano in the apartment, so they kept it. And Cy opened it up and just started to play it. And by the time he was 5, I think, he was playing at Carnegie Hall. He was a prodigy. And he was playing classical music, and that was the beginning of his career. He taught himself. One of the neighbors, I think, gave piano lessons, and his father thought that it was awfully expensive and wouldn't pay for it. And the neighbor was so impressed with Cy that she taught him for free.
And actually, like many other composers of his generation, notably Julie Stein, they all began careers as prodigies in the classical music world, but that was not to stay, of course.
Well, Cy, actually, one of the things I think you'll hear tonight is the amazing breadth of styles that Cy could write in. And as a person, the last thing he wanted to do was repeat himself. And Michael was saying that his name isn't quite as well known as some of the all-time greats, although he truly belongs in that pantheon. And I think one of the reasons is because he wrote in so many different styles. He said this actually toward the end of his life. He was about to play a gig pretty much about a month before he passed away at Feinstein's Club in Manhattan. And he hadn't played in a cabaret since he had the Cy Coleman Trio, which was how he started out. Cy was a chameleon. He had a lot of different careers. He started out as a classical pianist, and when he became an early teen, he decided he wanted to be a jazz pianist. And as Cy put it, everyone said, well, you're a classical pianist. How can you possibly be a jazz pianist? But he started playing, and he was brilliant, and he had great acclaim with the Cy Coleman Trio as a performer. Then he decided he wanted to be a songwriter, and people were saying, well, you know, you're a pianist. Why would you necessarily know how to write songs? But he confounded everybody. And
his first collaborator was actually Joseph McCarthy, an older songwriter, and they had a few hits, The Riviera. Some of you may remember that song, or Why Try to Change Me Now?
Right.
And that seemed where he was headed. But his career continued to take off in the jazz world as
Right.
part of the jazz trio.
And he decided he wanted to write for theater. And they said, well, Cy, you're a jazz pianist. What makes you think you can write Broadway shows? And he confounded them and wrote, I think he had 11 shows on Broadway. And here he was about to go back to playing the piano in his late 70s. And he said, David, they're going to say, he's this theater composer. What the hell does he know about playing in a cabaret? And they did. They said he was fantastic, but they were shocked that he was so great.
Absolutely. And of course, his career then went full circle from starting out playing jazz through the theater, as you said, and then coming back again. But the first serious collaborator that he had was Carolyn Lee, who I mentioned earlier, and who had written Witchcraft. Can you talk a little bit about Carolyn? I know you know a bit about her background.
Well, Carolyn was an extraordinary writer and had a great gift for inner rhymes and a great ear. If you listen to her lyrics, they're very sophisticated. I think a lot of people who write about music talk about her in the same breath as Cole Porter, but she's not nearly as well known. You'll recognize her songs, and you'll hear a lot of them tonight.
They were one of the teams that tried out for a musical that was being put together that was to star Ethel Merman, Gypsy. And Cy and Carolyn wrote a few songs for the score. Obviously, most of you know that Julie Stein and Stephen Sondheim ended up writing the show, but they began to get a reputation of being able to write not just pop songs, but songs that might work very well in the theater.
And in fact, one of the songs that they wrote as an audition for Gypsy, even though they didn't get the gig, ended up being a hit song for Tony Bennett called Firefly.
And the first show that they would end up writing was a show called Wildcat that starred Lucille Ball. And Cy and Carolyn often talked about how difficult it was to write the score for that show because Lucy was the star and certainly one of the biggest stars in the world at that time. But unfortunately, Lucy had about 5 notes. And I know that Cy talked about how they kind of waited and waited and waited to write that first opening number for the show because they knew it would certainly be an important number. And what could they come up with that would make Lucy very comfortable and very happy? The song was, of course, Hey Look Me Over, that became certainly a solid hit for Cy and for Carolyn. We wanted to give you an example of another popular song that Cy wrote with Carolyn. It's a song called You Fascinate Me So. And to sing it, we want to bring out a gentleman who many of you will remember. He's been here at the Kennedy Center several times, particularly with our Up Close and Personal Jerry Herman, and more recently with our Charles Strauss evening. He starred in countless Broadway musicals, including Falsettos, A Grand Night for Singing, Ragtime. In Los Angeles, he starred in The Boys from Syracuse. And a few years ago, the great Placido Domingo took a great interest in him and started to cast him in opera. And he's had a successful career in opera, LA Opera, Washington National Opera, starring in Deflator Mouse, The Merry Widow. Please welcome Jason Graae.
I have a feeling that beneath the little halo on your noble head, there lies a thought or two the devil might be interested to know. You're like the finish of a novel that I'll finally have to take to bed. You fascinate me so. I feel like Christopher Columbus when I'm near enough to contemplate the sweet geography descending from your eyebrow to your toe. The possibilities are more than I can possibly enumerate. That's why you fascinate me so. So sermonize and preach to me. sanctimonious little speech to me. But oh, my darling, you'll forgive my inability to concentrate. I think I'm dealing with a powder keg that's just about to blow. Will the end result deflate me, or will you annihilate me? You fascinate me so. So criticize and carp at me. Sing me sweet hosannas and fling that harp at me. But though, my darling, you are cool enough to make my blood coagulate, I have a feeling that you're not what I would call the driven snow. You can scold me and berate me, but I'd love to make you hate me. You aggravate me. You irritate me. You fascinate me so.
And by the way, that's Chris Marlowe at the piano, our excellent musical director for the evening. Probably the other important lady in Cy's life was the great Dorothy Fields, the great lyricist Dorothy Fields. They met at a party. Dorothy was sitting alone, actually, at a Broadway opening night party, and Cy went up to her. He recognized her, and he actually asked Dorothy what she was doing, and she said absolutely nothing. And he said, "How would you like to write a show with me?" And she said, "Sure," and they did. And that show became Sweet Charity. There's some interesting tales about how Cy worked with Dorothy.
Well, also, just to remind you, Dorothy, who was a generation older than Cy, had become famous with her brother Herbert Fields. They wrote a lot of hit musicals in the 30s and 40s, and she wrote the book to Annie Get Your Gun, songs like
On the Sunny Side,
Side of the Street,
Remind Me.
Remind Me. She wrote with Jerome Kern, and she was just a legend in her time.
And the interesting thing about the relationship is that, you know, if you look at the careers of many of those great writers, toward the end of their careers, they actually felt at loss because Broadway musicals were changing somewhat, and styles were changing. And I think one of the things about Dorothy Fields and why her career lasted so long and had such success even at the end of her career was because she decided to work with somebody a generation or so younger than she.
Well, I also, in Dorothy's case also, she had an incredible ear for the vernacular. She was as sophisticated as Carolyn Lee, but she wrote even more for character. Carolyn was very urbane. Dorothy Fields wrote very much in the voice of the characters that they wrote about.
One of Cy's earlier musicals, going back a little bit in time, that he wrote with Carolyn Lee was a musical called Little Me. It starred Sid Caesar in his first Broadway musical. You might know the song Real Live Girl from that show. But about 15 years later, the show was revived on Broadway, and Cy and Carolyn decided to write a new song for that revival. And that's the song we wanted you to hear tonight. And to sing it, please welcome one of Broadway's brightest lights. She was a good friend of Cy's. Those of you who've been to the Kennedy Center at other events will certainly know her. Please welcome Lillias White.
I'm no chicken, but now and then I've got proof I'm no mother hen. I've got stories from way back when, but pinch those panatellas, fellas, Lil is back again. Don't ask a lady what the lady did before. Ask what the lady's doing now. Don't poke around inside the ladies' bureau drawer. What's there to thrill ya? Ain't memorabilia. Why drag the laundry out when you're about to score? This Botox lasts a month and not a moment more. Don't ask a lady what the lady did before. Ask what the lady's doing. Speak up before you're shooing. Ask what the lady's doing now. Don't diddle with chit-chat. Don't fiddle with small talk. What good is a fancy footwork if it's all talk? The trouble with men is once the ice is thawed, they wanna know, have you ever been abroad? Don't ask the lady when the lady had it last. Ask if the lady wants it now. If you're a notion that how the evening should be passed, don't interview me, just put it to me. That you are willing to is thrilling to the core. But make it fast before my facelift hits the floor. Don't ask a lady what the lady did before. Ask what the lady's doing before it all needs gluing. Ask what the lady's doing. Don't ask how well I'm doing or whatever swell I'm doing. Ask what the hell I'm doing now.
The next show we're going to talk about is a show called Barnum, which couldn't be less like 20th century, and it shows you what a chameleon Cy was. It was filled with Americana marches and all kinds of great, exciting American music. And
David, wouldn't you assume that if you were asked to write a musical about P.T. Barnum, a circus musical, that one would have thought it would be this humongous, huge musical, and that's not really what Cy had in mind.
Well, Cy had the idea to set it in a circus, and it was a very small circus. It felt like a huge show because they played all over the theater, but there were only 16 people in it.
And a few little factoids once again. Glenn Close made her musical theater debut in Barnum. There was a wonderful song that was a hit for Perry Como called The Colors of My Life that came from that show. The lyrics were by Mike Stewart. And the song, does the song we're going to present tonight need any kind of setup, do you suppose?
Only that one of the things that Barnum created in his circus was a museum. And when he built the museum filled with oddities in the show, he sings this song.
And to sing it, please welcome back Jason Graae.
Quite a lot of Roman terracotta, living lava from the flanks of Etna. Statuary, ride a dromedary, see the temple tumble and the Red Sea part. McNamara's band, the fattest lady in the land, a pickled prehistoric hand, a strand of Pocahontas hair. Crow and Sue who going to be showing you some rowing through a model of the rapids on the Delaware. Armadillos, clever caterpillars, reproductions of the Cyclops retina, crystal blowing, automatic sewing, Venus on a shell and other works of art. Educated fleas, a tribe of aborigines, two ladies joined across the knees, the Mona Lisa made of ice. Hottentots who've gotten in forgotten spots of cotton gin, a night with Lawton Sawton, better see that twice. One iguana, snakes and other fauna, got no bearded lady but we're getting when you duck out, take another buck out, run around the block and see a new show start. Really? Quite a lot of Roman terracotta, live in lava from the flanks of Etna. Statuary, ride a dromedary, see the temple tumble and the Red Sea part. McNamara's band, the fattest lady in the land of pickle, prehistoric Candace, strand of Pocahontas hair. Crow and two who going to be showing you some rowing through a model of the rapids of the Delaware. Armadillos, clever caterpillars, reproductions of the Cyclops or Etna. Crystal blowing, automatic sewing, Venus on a shell and other works of art. Educated fleas, a tribe of aborigines, two ladies joined across the knees, the Mona Lisa made of ice. Hottentots who've gotten in forgotten spots of cotton gin, a night with Lot and Sodom, better see that twice. One iguana makes another fauna, got no bearded lady but we're getting when you talk out, take another bug out, run around the block and see you, run around the block and see you, run around the block and see a new show start.
As we noted earlier, Cy had great success in the pop field and obviously in the theater. I neglected to say that he also worked successfully in film. He wrote the scores for several films, including Garbo Talks, starring Anne Bancroft, and Father Goose, which starred Cary Grant and Leslie Caron. We're going to go back to one of Cy's biggest songs from the pop world. It actually is one of my personal favorites. One of the people who was very important in Cy's life was a lady named Mabel Mercer. I don't know if that name means anything. Ah, good. She was a songwriter's best friend, and she was able to discover new talent, and when she discovered new talent and she liked them, she would rummage through their trunk and say, "What have you got? What have you got?" And the song you're about to hear is one of those songs that Mabel took to her heart and helped really put it on the map. To sing it is one of the finest singer-pianists in the New York cabaret scene. He's also one of the finest jazz performers. His Nickelback saluting Mel Torme was so critically acclaimed and recorded. Please welcome the great Billy Stritch.
My height, just average. My weight, just average. And my IQ is like you'd estimate, just average. But evidently she does not agree. Consequently, if I seem at sea, it amazes me. It simply amazes me. What she sees in me dazzles me, dazes me. That I've learned to clip my wings and soften my ways. These are ordinary things, unworthy of praise. Yet she praises me. Just knowing I'd try for her. When so many would, if they could, die for her. I'm the one who's worldly wise, and nothing much fazes me. But to see me in her eyes, it just amazes me. and soften my ways. These are ordinary things, unworthy of praise. Yet she praises me, just knowing I try for her. When so many would, if they could, gladly die for her. I'm the one who's worldly wise, and nothing much fazes me. But to see me in her eyes, it just amazes me.
Lyrics by Carolyn Lee. You know, Cy Coleman adored many of the performers he worked with, but he had a special place in his heart for Lillias White. And we've asked Lillias.
I first met Cy when I was auditioning for Barnum on Broadway. And I went to the audition and I sang my favorite audition song, which at the time was Don't Rain on My Parade. So I finished singing and they said, okay, so you have any circus things you can do? I said, yeah, I can juggle. So I picked up the beanbags and I started juggling it, and the beanbags just kept falling down. They kept falling down. I said, it gets better. So you laughed. They thought that was funny too. And Joe Layton and Cy Coleman was sitting in the back, and they said, okay, so you got the job. So I did Barnum, and then when Barnum closed, we did a show called Rock and Roll the First 5,000 Years that flopped. It was at that time the biggest Broadway flop ever in history. And then when we finished doing that, they said, well, don't worry, we're writing a show, and we're writing a role just for you. And there's nothing like that in the theater when somebody says, we're writing something just for you. It's got your name all over it. And so they did. And the role was Sonia in a show called The Life.
And I should tell everyone that for that role, playing Sonia, Lillias not only won the Drama Critics Circle Award and the Drama Desk Award, but she won the Tony Award as Best Supporting Actress in a Broadway Musical. Absolutely. It was Lillias who sat down on the chair, but now it's
Sonia. So Lillias is leaving. Sonia's coming to sing her song. Okay, so now, for those of you who didn't see the show, you don't know, but Sonia was a hoe. Here comes Sonia. I'm worn out and weary. I ain't no machine. My head hurts, my feet hurts, and everything in between. I'm getting too old for the oldest profession. I'm getting too tired and too slow. I'm getting too old for the half-hour session. I'm getting too old for a pro. I'm getting too old for to climb all those stairs now. A half dozen times every night. I'm getting too old for to take 'em in pairs now. hard to take off my clothes in the light. I can't seem to manage those Shriners who manage to manhandle me every trip. You know who you are. To tell you the truth, I've had so many Shriners that I'm up for membership. When I was 16, it was fun turning tricks. I needed the money and I wanted some kicks. But I ain't 16. I just turned 26. It's time to come in from the cold. Looks like I'm getting too old.
26?
Yeah, I said 26. Don't I look good for 26?
So, Sonia,
Yes.
how many dates have you been on?
How many dates? Ooh, I don't know. We gotta figure that out. Let's see. All right, here we go. Say 5 Johns a night, 6 nights a week. Of course, that was back in my prime. That's 30 Johns a week, 50 weeks a year, 'cause I always visit Mama at Christmas time. So that's 30 times 50 multiplied by 10. Holy shit, let me do that again. After 10 years on the trade, I've really made the grade. I figure I've been laid by over 15,000 men. Lord have mercy, that don't include the women. I'm tired of doing those deadbeats and pikers and haggling over the price. I'm tired of spending the weekends at Rikers. You never meet anyone nice. I thought everything a body can do, but how goddamn much can a body go through? I'm getting too old for the endless procession. I'm getting too old for the constant depression. I'm getting too old for the oldest profession. I'm getting too old for the life. I'm tired. I'm weary. I'm getting too old. For the life oh, for
those sparkling lyrics were by Ira Gassman. A lot of the great songwriters, Cole Porter, Oscar Hammerstein, Arthur Schwartz, to mention a few, they originally started their careers as lawyers, as did David Zippel. But all of us are grateful that they all decided midstream to change their minds. So David, talk a little bit about how you went from law to music, and then talk about your relationship with Cy.
Well, as Larry Gelbart, our dear collaborator with Cy and I wrote with, said, I chose rhyme over reason. I went to law school because I figured it was a good career, but I really wanted to be a Broadway lyricist. And while I was in law school, I wrote as much as I could, and I met Barbara Cook and Wally Harper, and Wally was Barbara Cook's musical director, and he became my first professional collaborator. And Barbara Cook sang the first songs that I wrote. So I was very lucky. I kind of started at the top. The first song we wrote was a song called Lost and Found, and they were both thrilled with it. And Cy was going away on a vacation. He played me this melody. Sometimes Cy and I wrote lyrics first, sometimes music first. Sometimes we would just sit in the room and work things out. But this particular melody he had written complete, and he played it for me. And it took my breath away, which you will see inspired me. And he was going away, and I really wanted to get this job. And so I told him I would have it when he got back. He was going away for about 10 days, and I wrote the first lyric to it. In fact, I thought of the title, With Every Breath I Take, right while I was in the room with Cy, and Cy thought it was perfect for the melody, and he was very enthusiastic and very encouraging. So I went home, and I worked, and I came up with the first lyric, and I really liked it, but then I thought, well, gee, this is the chance of a lifetime, and I don't want to blow it. So I wrote 10 more different versions of the same lyric. And I showed up in Cy's office 10 days later, and I had the 10 lyrics all in a pile with the one I started first on top, which was still the one I liked best. And Cy sat down at the piano, and he played it. And he sang it straight through, right from the lyric sheet I wrote, and he said, this is wonderful. And I said, thanks, Cy, as I sort of surreptitiously removed the other 9 versions. And that's the song you're going to hear in a little bit.
And we want you to hear 2 songs from that show tonight.
So you're going to hear With Every Breath I Take, and you're also going to hear a duet, which we're doing as a trio. And I wrote special lyrics for it just because I thought with this particularly brilliant cast, it might be fun to twist the song a little bit. In the show, it's the first act finale. Here, it's just a little amusement, so we'll see if you like it.
And to perform it, another Broadway star. I saw her about 2 seasons back in a terrific musical about the life of Kurt Weill called Love Music. She's also starred on Broadway in Titanic, Me and My Girl. She sung at the New York City Opera in Candide. Please welcome Judith Blazer.
There's not a morning that I open up my eyes and find I didn't dream of you. Without a warning, though it never's a surprise, soon as I awake, thoughts of you arise. With every breath I take, at any time or place, I close my eyes and see your face, and I'm embracing you. If only I believe that dreams come true, darling. You were the one who said forever from the start, and I've been drifting since you've gone out on a lonely sea that only you can chart. I've been going on, knowing that my heart
God, Judy, that was just beautiful. Oh, man.
Thank you.
Isn't this so exciting, singing at the Kennedy Center?
Yes, Jason.
I
It
don't know.
really, really is. You know, when David asked me to do this concert last July, I just could not wait.
Oh, really? July?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's weird, because he just asked me last week.
Yeah. It was a beautiful summer day, I remember.
Oh, is that right? Lillias, when did when did David ask you to do the show?
It was at the Tony Award alumni brunch in June. Did I mention I won one?
I hadn't heard.
Wasn't that a really long time ago?
Oh, that's right. You two weren't invited to the brunch.
You are some divas with those screamed high notes.
You would need a machine gun to hit my notes.
You've a huge ego and a small talent.
I'd stay home if I had what you call talent.
Let's talk about vibrato. Yours is a sonic glitch.
Really? Because you'll probably win at Lotto before you two stray into pitch.
Bitch!
You're nothing without me. You'd never get work at your age. Don't mean to be rude with your attitude. You're bound to be booed off the stage. A no-tell, a has-been. The fact is you just caterwaul. You're nothing without me, you're nothing at all. Okay, you're a great artist and a grand singer.
When I'm with you, I feel like a band singer.
You're a great partner, I'm so keen on you.
Pull the freight, partner, I'm here to lean on you.
You make it look so easy.
You bring the crowd to cheers.
So effortless and breezy. You're Whitney and I'm Britney Spears.
Does that mean you do crack?
I'm nothing without you.
Without you,
I lack what it takes. Unless we're combined, I'm flying half blind and constantly making mistakes. Without you, I'm nowhere. No one will recall. We've said lots of things that are rotten and mean.
If you win a Tony, remains to be seen.
She did not.
She did.
I'm nothing without you. Without you, I'm nothing at all.
Here's another one of Cy's great pop standards. The best is yet to come. Billy Stritch at the piano.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything's starting to hum. Still, it's a real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? You think you seen the sun, well, you ain't seen it shine. Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till our lips have met. Wait till you see that sunshine day. You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come, come the day you're mine. Come the day you're mine. I'm gonna teach you to fly. You think you tasted the wine. We're gonna drain the cup dry. Wait till your charms are right for these arms to surround. You think you've flown before, well, you ain't left the ground. Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till I draw you near. Wait till you see that sunshine day. Ain't nothing like it here. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. Come the day you're mine. Come the day you're mine. Come the day you're mine.
Cy Coleman was commissioned by the Kennedy Center to write a jazz song cycle for the millennium. Cy chose as his lyricists Alan and Marilyn Bergman. The song we wanted you to hear from that production is called Those Hands. And the performer who owns that song, not just because she introduced it, is our friend Lillias White.
Two hands that sometimes sound like four. Some nights you'd swear there may be more. Those hands, they look like yours or mine. 10 fingers, same design, but they know things that ours don't know. And they go places ours can't go. Those hands, that cat's a killer of a kitten on the keys. He's just a modulating fool. To play Blue Moon in 7 flats for him's a breeze. I may exaggerate, but you go wild at those cool arpeggios. Every night they come from near and far. You hear them when I around his Yamaha. I mean, those hands, our Tatum would approve the way his fingers move when making love to sweet Lorraine. Their place in history is secure. Those hands, who would you trust to manicure? Those hands, those hands, those hands. Here we go. Navigates those notes with so much ease, as if that pair of hands had wings. And when I watch them fly across the ivories, amazing how that piano rings with all of those fine fortissimos. Yeah. You hear them ooh and ah around his armor. I mean those hands. Tatum would approve the way his fingers move when making love to sweet Lorraine. Their place in history is killer. Those hands. Who would you trust to manicure? Those hands. Herb Lloyds of London can ensure those hands. And Oscar Peterson would smile. Those hands. Count Basie show it like your style. Those hands. Who wouldn't want to spend a while with those hands? Those hands. Those hands. How about those hands? Those hands and those hands.
Cy Coleman said, "Everything is music to me. I compose in my head. The piano is so other people could hear my music." Well, Cy, we're grateful to have had you in our life, and we're also so glad someone invented the piano. A couple of years ago, just before Cy passed away, ASCAP did an in-depth interview with Cy, and in that interview, we asked him if he would sing a song from a musical he was working on, Pamela's first musical. And so he sang a song, It Started With a Dream, lyrics by David Zippel. And we wanted to share that performance with you tonight.
It all begins with make-believe. A sudden spark of inspiration. And every note of every theme started with a dream. In some imagination, but when I hear the sound of cheers and see the rows of smiling faces, it's like I'm living in that dream. And heaven knows I wouldn't dream of trading places.
Before a song can stop the show. Before a song can stop the show. Cause thunder